First, Paul says the gospel was proclaimed. Verses 1 and 2, I would remind you, brothers, of the gospel I preached to you. It was proclaimed. The word is euangelizo, and its root form, verb form, that's the word. And it basically is just to bring the good news or to preach good tidings, to let people know what God has done. The good news must be communicated. That's the point. It's vocal, it's spoken, it's written down, it's sent out. The phrase that's often associated with St. Francis of Assisi, I don't know if you've heard this before, you may have, it shows up in the weirdest places. It may have been attributed to him in error, we're not sure if he said it or not, but it's basically a very erroneous saying, okay? It says that we are to preach the gospel at all times, and if necessary, we are to use words. Why is that wrong? Because it gets the cart before the horse. We're always supposed to use words, okay? We're always supposed to communicate the truth of God, and we're supposed to reflect the effect of the gospel upon our lives through our actions and words and deeds, or in our deeds, okay? So if I can cause our minds to think about this a little bit more, we're given two kinds of revelation, okay? What are they? Theology 101. What is it? General revelation and special revelation. Okay. If we say preach the gospel at all times and if necessary use words, what are we saying is the primary focus of what revelation is our primary focus? General revelation. Okay, what's the problem with general revelation?
It only condemns.
Well, and in a sense it doesn't really condemn because the condemnation comes from the Old Testament, right? The law. And the law is special revelation. I can know there's a God with general revelation. I can know and understand society. I can know there should be order and there should be structure. I can know that God is a God of immense complexity. I can know as well that if personality exists and that if there's harmony and if there's multiple, if there's one and the many, I can know something about God's integrity and God's character that is distinguished above all other beings. But I cannot know that I need Jesus Christ without God saying, you're a sinner and you need me. That's special revelation. We cannot condemn a world to a life of general revelation when Jesus Christ has revealed his beauty to us in a word like this. So the gospel is proclaimed. We are manifesting it in every vehicle and form we can. We use the internet, we use your writing, you use songs, whatever you can do to magnify that gospel message. You and I are to do it. But we have to speak it. We have to speak it in some form. If it's sign language, fine. If it's another language, fine. It just must be spoken. Because you don't know enough about Jesus just by looking at a tree, or an ant, or at the sky. You get the point. Secondly, Paul tells us that the gospel was received. It's proclaimed, it was received. In other words, we agree with what the gospel says about us. And we accept what the gospel does to us. It changes me. Okay? We come to Jesus, oh my goodness, I need this. And God does this transforming work. Paul will clarify this more in verse 3. The third thing we see is that it is our standing. The gospel is something in which we stand. It is our place of existence. It is our rock surrounding us. When everything around us is sinking sand, we step away from the gospel. We step away from our life, our sustenance, our hope, our surety. We stand in the gospel. It is not only our sure foundation, it is the air we breathe as Christians. If you're a visual person, think about it like this. We should be a buoy bobbling in a sea of grace, knowing that we are tethered there because of the gospel of Christ. Colossians 2:6, therefore, as you have received Christ Jesus, the Lord, so walk in him. How did we receive Jesus? The gospel was proclaimed. We accept it by faith. And we agree with what God says about us. And he says to us in Colossians, Paul says to us in Colossians, that same tenor and characteristic is how we live our life. It is always the scent upon us.